When I first started at the Weather Network, being on television, I felt like a total imposter. When I first started doing presentations as well at the Marleys doing in-game hosting, I felt like a total imposter. I was going through a really tough time in my life, and the thought that they thought that I was capable to do that really was something I tackled in my mind. Hey guys, what's up? We're going to be talking about imposter syndrome today, what it is and how you can overcome it. This is another example of a Simplify Summer video, simplifying a strategy to overcome something like imposter syndrome in your mind. Take a quick second. If you're not already subscribed, I would love for you to become part of this community and give it a thumbs up if you find some helpful tips along the way. But as for this video, let's get started. Imposter syndrome is basically exactly what the name says. It's feeling like an imposter in your own life, feeling like a fraud, and feeling like you don't exactly deserve the opportunity that's been put in front of you. This is something I struggled with so hard when I first started on television. There were moments when I was training that after that, I would then go to my car and start crying. One of the things that I love about Scott actually is he was one of the first people that actually pushed me to try out the green screen room. At first, I would just walk around, I would be training with everyone, and I would just watch what they were doing, take notes, and just be there. But I wasn't actually learning how to do it myself because I felt an imposter in the role myself. This usually happens as well a lot with women. This happens a ton with women, and actually it was two psychologists back way when, I'm going to put the fact right here, that actually coined the term imposter syndrome. Basically, what was happening was, in my mind, I didn't have the confidence to think that I was able to do what opportunity I had been given. At the end of the day, people chose me to do this job, so the one person that should definitely be confident in doing it is me. If you're going through imposter syndrome right now, if you have a project that you're working on right now, or a job that you're applying for, or a job you just got that you don't think that you particularly deserve, this video is for sure for you. And the fact that you're not in your head, and I am too, just shows you're not alone. That's the first thing that you have to realize when it comes down to feeling like an imposter in your life. Is actually a study done in America showed 70% of people struggled with this. That's a lot of people, okay? 70% of a population, holy cow. A lot of us are just walking around thinking that we don't deserve to be somewhere that we clearly deserve to be. Facing that fear, realizing that you're not alone, is definitely the first step. Realizing as well that imposter syndrome is totally in association with fear is also something really important. What are you scared of? For me, I was scared of being found out. I was scared that I actually wouldn't be able to succeed because the history book showed that I had actually been pretty successful at anything that I had tried as a kid. But this finally was a challenge that I really wasn't sure. However, I didn't actually put facts into motion. I didn't realize that, you know what, they didn't expect me to be the best person on air on my first air check ever. Of course not. That would be wild. So checking in with that fear, what are you actually fearful of? Another huge fear that I have, or not really, well, yeah, I guess it does boil down to fear. One of the things that I constantly think about is starting this YouTube channel. Sometimes I feel like an imposter here, but at the same time, if I check in with that fear, why is that even there? Is it there because I think that other people are judging me? Whoa. X that out right there. Because at the end of the day, what the heck? We should be doing these things for ourselves, creating art for ourselves. If you go home and you want to be a painter and then you feel like an imposter while you're painting, well, look, you're painting and that makes you a painter. You deserve that to be there, and you deserve to be doing what action you're doing. I was listening to a podcast the other day, Armchair Expert, with Dax Shepard and Monica Padman. They were interviewing Elizabeth Gilbert. She's the author of Eat, Pray, Love and so many other books. And she was basically saying she was put in this big talk where Oprah chose women. She just chose 50 women to go up and talk about why the heck they are awesome and why the heck they have been able to succeed in their life. And Elizabeth's immediate thought was, okay, I'll get on this stage and immediately I'm going to be feeling anxious. And should I say to this audience of women, oh my gosh, guys, I am so nervous about this, but we're going to get through it. And then she thought, why would I say that? I am here to be present. I am here because I have something to say. I am here because people want to listen to my journey, and not necessarily the successes, but honestly the pitfalls that followed her along the way. And instead of walking on that stage and telling the audience that she felt nervous, because obviously you're talking in front of so many people, it's nerve-wracking. Even the best public speakers, I'm sure, still have those small butterflies. If they didn't, they don't care. But at the end of the day, she walked on that stage with the attitude and confidence of, I deserve to be here. And I am totally allowed to be here and be confident about that, because there's a reason why I was chosen to do that. At the end of the day, the fear that I have that lives here and the fear that I had that lived within getting that job on air actually just boiled down to my own insecurities and breaking down the facts. The facts are that whatever you are dealing with when it comes to imposter syndrome, there are facts that you may not have resolved or looked at or even just paid attention to actually see whether they're rational or not. The fact that I needed to realize I wasn't going to be my best on the first time on air, obviously, and no one expected me to, that really helped me check in with my imposter syndrome when I was there. Self-confidence and inadequacy. That's a huge part about this game. The thing about starting a YouTube channel or being on camera, public speaking, going to a job interview, anything like that, the thing you have to realize at the end of the day is the only validation that you need is yours. When it comes to starting something like this, it's really important to cut down the comparison and actually start playing the infinite game. The infinite game is looking ahead. Companies like Apple are constantly innovating. They realize that this model that comes out might not be the best on the market at the time, but we're going to constantly innovate, so the next one, that's going to be the best one. There are other companies that compare themselves to Apple and are constantly chasing the horse's tail. If I did that here on this YouTube channel, which I often have done, don't get me wrong, I probably have to check in with this every single day as I continue to grow my content here. I have to realize that, you know what, there are women and men who have been doing this for years and years and years. And you can't just start the game at that level. Though you feel like an imposter and you maybe self-check yourself by comparison and make yourself convinced that you don't belong to be here as much as anyone else, that's a you thing, and that's something you really have to come into grips with. Because at the end of the day, if you're playing the infinite game, you're just focusing on your content and you're just trucking along. And organically, if you're having a voice, you're doing it in a positive way and you're trying your hardest and you're growing along the way. When it comes to creating, you're playing the infinite game, and that authentic following is going to happen. And that imposter syndrome is going to be diminished because you're focusing on you. You're focusing on what you can control. And I find that often when it comes to insecurities and it comes to something like just feeling like an imposter and a fraud in your own life, it's probably because you're comparing yourself to something you think you're not, you think you can't become, or something that's completely out of your control. Face the facts and revisit where you are. The moment that I started that job, I wasn't gonna be where I am today 2.5 years in, of course. But I also wasn't where I was the next 30 days, or the next 30 days after that. So if you're starting something new, you feel like an imposter, focus in on what you can control. Focus in on what you actually provide to the role. If you can make a list on things that make you valuable within that space and you focus in on those versus the things that you feel inadequate at, that's gonna help you get through the other day, every day, and that's gonna help you build those skills in that other area that you know that you have to work on anyways. You're not gonna be at CEO status the moment you walk in the door. A CEO switching from one company to another has a complete time of transition to learn about the company. Of course they do. So don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself some time to actually take in the job, take in the position, take in the artwork, learn the skill at whatever you're doing, whether it's creating or actually working. So actually give yourself time to become the you that you know you can be. And if you don't know that yet because of imposter syndrome getting you down, that the people that hired you or the platform that allowed you to be there allowed you to be. Unsubscribe from self-doubt. I would drive home from work and I would be like, oh my God, I can't do this. I actually can't do the job I was hired for because I am too nervous and scared to do it. Unsubscribe from those thoughts. Tell yourself you can do it. It sounds so simple, but actually giving yourself positive self-affirmations. You're trying your hardest. You're working at it, you're going to get better. And here where you are today is better than you were yesterday. Actually telling yourself that and visualizing. Visualizing is huge, whether it's athletics, job, life, creative work. Visualizing where you could be is absolutely huge for diminishing those thoughts of imposter syndrome. Because when you visualize growth, improvement, not perfection, but just honing in on skills. And that alone honestly helped me get so much better. Because when it comes to being on camera as well, it's really hard because you're following other people, right? You're watching what they do, you're picking up on little things, little idiosyncrasies, all these little things. At the end of the day, the only person that you have to be in any job, on camera, saying a speech, in a job interview, as corny as it sounds, is you. Because that's who they want. And if you get into a stressful scenario, I guarantee whether it's tornado season or just a deadline, you are going to shed the personality that you've been putting on in your feeling of imposter syndrome, and you're just gonna be yourself. Because sometimes in stressful and anxiety-filled scenarios, you kind of don't have a choice. So at the end of the day, there is going to come a point in this imposter syndrome where you will find a groove and you will truly just start becoming yourself because you have no choice but to do just that. Try not to devalue your experience and your expertise. When it comes to being here on this platform, I can't devalue the fact that I know how to edit, of course, but I can start looking at it and saying, when are you doing that? Are you making a schedule of it? Are you planning when videos come out? Not devaluing myself when I see someone else being able to do a sick edit. I can just then look at that, appreciate it, and learn how to do that myself. But I'm not going to devalue where I am right now and the expertise that I bring to the role, whether it's a job or a project. And that's something that definitely could help out if you're currently feeling like a fraud in the position you're in. At the end of the day, just deciding to carry that confidence with you, it sounds like, okay, well, if I could decide I would have confidence on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, are you deciding to feel unconfident and unworthy? Or are you gonna wake up and say, you know what, I'm gonna give it my all today and I'm gonna be confident walking into this role, even though I may not know every single thing. But what I do know, yeah, I'm gonna carry some confidence with that. I think that was one thing that really got me through. The confidence that, yeah, at the beginning, I didn't know as much about weather, for example, as I do now. But what I could ride on was my personality, staying in my lane when it came to that knowledge, working with the maps, things like that. And that's honestly just an example of what I dealt with when it came to finally being on air and being on television and talking about weather. What is that for you? What is the one thing that you are going to decide to be confident in today? That is what I want to hear in the comments below. You guys, tell me what you're confident about. Tell me about the things that you know you're good at, that you are just gonna rock today. And that's the end of this video. I so appreciated just getting a chance to ramble on about imposter syndrome and about the fact that we all feel it. I went on a blog trip as well. Just a quick anecdote before I let you go. I went on a blog trip this last weekend. It was involved in one of my weekly vlogs for June, week 2, and I will also link that up right here. And on our trip down to Prince Edward County, we were on this little party bus we called our prom bus. There were bloggers with me, and we all just went around talking about how we feel like imposters in this. And these are women that I'm like blown away by on a daily basis because their followership is huge, their content is amazing, their personalities are lovely, and they are like the standard. And for them saying that they feel that way kind of just brought me right back to the number one thing we said in this video. You're not alone. And often people who you think are just like holding their own in their every single day life, showing it all on social media, but not really, just the highlight reel, they're probably feeling it too. I love you guys so much to the moon and back. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Again, be sure to subscribe, more videos like this coming out, and let me know what you are going to be rocking confidence-wise in the comments below. We'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.